Hello, welcome to Catholic Life, ordinary people with extraordinary faith. I'm Deacon Jody Moscona. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today is the continuation of our series to introduce you to the newest deacons for the Diocese of Baton Rouge. Recently, we ordained 4, and we've had several of them. Today, we have Deacon Ed Hanks. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me this morning.
Not a problem. Listen, I know it's an exciting part right after ordination is I'm done with all that studying, and then the excitement of the new assignment and all the things that go on. So I kind of know what you're feeling, although it's been kind of a while. But so tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, sure. I'm not originally from Louisiana. I was born in Nebraska City, Nebraska.
A few years ago.
Yes. And then in my teenage years, my family moved out to Western Colorado. And then from Western Colorado, we moved to Kansas. And I graduated high school and went to college in Kansas, electrical engineering degree, and I got into the pipeline business. And soon after that, my company asked me to move down to Louisiana to support pipelines down here. And so we moved down here. My wife and I moved down here in 1999. And we've been here ever since.
Well, that's great. So you're getting to be an old regular, sort of, kind of.
An old regular, yeah.
That's cool. So tell us about your church background.
Yeah. So I was growing up. My early years, I was either a Cathodist or a Methodic because my dad was Methodist and my mom was Catholic, and so it wasn't uncommon that we would go to Saturday night mass and then Sunday morning Methodist service. And but through my teenage years and then into my college years, fell away from the faith, and wasn't practicing the faith. I got married. My wife and I, Julie, we were married. We were both young engineers, thought we knew how to control the entire world, and God wasn't part of it. And so a few years into our marriage, we started struggling, and we at first thought that we could fix it ourselves.
Don't we all think that?
Yeah, we do. We think we can fix it ourselves. And so we started reading self-help books and different things, and there was no solution. But we were living in Laplace at the time, and at this same time, the new church, Assumption of Our Lord, was being built, and right from our house, we could see the steeple being built, or the bell tower being built, and we said, well, when that church is done, we'll start going to church. And that was the strange way God called me back and called my wife to the church. And
that's awesome. That is a great story.
We started RCIA. Julie was Lutheran by baptism, but her family had really never practiced the faith. Julie was confirmed at the Easter Vigil. At the Easter Vigil, when the priest sprinkled water on us, he just nailed us. And I remember having to clean the water off my glasses. And Julie and I smiled at each other at that moment. And I just felt the Holy Spirit working in us in a powerful way.
Let me go back just for a little education. Sometimes catechesis is good. You mentioned that when you were growing up, you would go to Saturday Mass and then Sunday Methodist service. That's a lesson for people to realize, because a lot of people will think, oh, well, we can go to either or, but we don't have to go to both. But in our tradition and the catechism is very clear that we have an obligation to attend the Eucharistic celebration every Sunday. It's part of who we are, because that brings us one with Christ. So your parents were teaching you something special even back then.
Yes.
That's amazing. So you see the tower go up, you start going to the church, you get sprinkled, and you have a reversion, sort of. Mm-hmm. And tell us about that.
Yeah, and so we had been married 9 years at that point, and we had no kids. God opened us up in a powerful way to kids' life with us coming into the church. Soon after that, we were pregnant. We had our first daughter, Mary. Mary just went off to college this year. Then Julie was called in a powerful way to fostering and adoption, and she pulled me along, and so we ended up being Louisiana foster and adoptive parents. We've had several kids through the house over the years. We 2 boys that have been through our house we've adopted, and then we've adopted a girl also. So we've got 3 natural kids and then 3 kids that we've adopted through the foster care system. And all of that is the grace that came upon us at that Easter Vigil. And
That
coming
is
back.
tremendous. You know, I've had the First Lady sit in that chair telling us about the foster program.
Yes, she's very passionate about it.
She very much is.
Yes.
And she's so supportive of all the different programs. I'm sure you've taken advantage of some of those programs that are all there. That's just an incredible story. That is the epitome of what love is, charity.
Yes, it radically changed us. That Easter Vigil radically changed us. God's grace coming into us, just showering upon us, literally with the holy water, changed us. And so our oldest, Mary, just went off to college. Our next oldest is graduating high school this year. We're homeschoolers, but our next 2 boys, they're both 14, adopted. We sent them over to St. Paul's in Covington. We're over in Ponchatoula. We're very close to Covington. And so the 2 boys now are at Covington and then at St. Paul's. And then our 2 youngest girls are both 10 years old now.
That is awesome. What a great story. What a great story. So through all of that, I know you were involved with ministry through fostering, but did you have any church ministries during that time? Did you get involved with some of the parish activities and so on?
Yes. So right after we came into the church in Laplace, the company I worked for opened an engineering office in Covington. And so I moved all the way from Laplace over to Ponchatoula. And when we switched from Laplace to Ponchatoula, we started to get active in the church right away. We'd just been through RCIA, and we got active in the RCIA ministry right off the bat. The pastor at the time, Father Kowchek, an engineer before being a priest, saw something in me being an engineer, and just right off the gate, very soon I was coordinating the RCI process. And so I've coordinated the RCI process at St. Joseph's for, 18 years.
Wow.
Yep.
That's good. A lot of us have an affinity for RCIA because a lot of us, that's kind of how we found ourselves in ministry, and it every year the process renourishes us because going with the people that are learning, we relearn, and it just strengthens our faith.
You really experience the liturgical calendar and the liturgical cycle and the renewal every time that we celebrate Easter.
Absolutely. And for those watching, you know, the RCI program is just starting for another year for those parishes that do follow the school year. And so if you are looking at the Catholic faith, if you have a relative that has been going to church with you that's not Catholic, now's the time to make that call to the parish. In fact, I was, just so you know, yesterday processing out of the church, and I saw a guy here that I know comes to communion every week and crosses his hands. And I said to him, Kevin, you need to be in RCIA. And he goes, I know. Sometimes it just takes an invitation.
An invitation, yes.
So I want to ask you about your invitation to the diaconate.
Yeah, okay. It was at a Subway. I was at lunch. I was in Covington at lunch. I was standing in line, and I look at my phone, and I'm getting a call from Father Ramon. So it's Father Ramon. I take the call. I step back outside of the Subway, and I'm pacing around in front of the Subway, and Father Ramon says, "You need to be a deacon." Yes. So that was the initial call. I had not thought, and that was 10 years ago. I think this year. I had not thought about becoming a deacon. What he was calling me about particularly was to go get started in the RSI process. So it was late, it was fall, it was time, it was about a week from classes getting ready to start. Father Ramon calls and says, I think you should consider being a deacon, and I need you to get started in RSI. And that's how it began.
So you got into RSI? Good for you. Good for you. That's how the older guys started. You're the ones that have been around a while. So you were obviously a very willing person. You and obedient in a weird way when Father called you. What went on when you told your wife?
Yeah. So it's happened over so many years and so long ago when that first call started to happen, but it felt natural. It felt like a real and natural call, like I hear that. That seems like, in thinking from a logical perspective, it seems like the right direction. And so Julie and I are very equally yoked, is a term I would put to it. We're both very, besides RCI ministry, we're both very passionate about the pro-life ministry. And you can see that with our adopted foster children and adopted kids. And then we've always been very active at praying at the abortion facility, Delta, for over a decade. Julie and the kids were there almost every Thursday morning. Julie serves as the vice president at Restoration House over in Hammond. So we're very excited about the Walking with Women that the diocese is engaging right now, because it is so needed.
It is a great program, and it right now is the beginning. So now is a good time. If you haven't heard about it, you need to look into it, because you're going to be hearing about it if you haven't yet.
Yeah, and so from with that information, then it kind of makes sense that it was natural. I think we both were. This is where God is leading us.
That's just a tremendous story. What I would add, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but what I tell a lot of people that come to me about the diaconate is, it is a pull. You're called, you're dragged, sometimes kicking and screaming into it. It's not something that you project yourself into. It's not like, oh, I want to be a deacon. And so you go, that may be a tug at your heart, but more than likely, it's a call.
It's a call. And I think that my experience is that it felt very natural too.
Mm-hmm. That is fantastic. And for you, it really was a call. We're going to take a short break. And after the break, I want to talk about the process, because for you, it was obviously a little bit different. And I'd love to hear about it. So stay with us. On the other side of the break, we're going to continue with Deacon Ed Hanks. And thank you so much for watching. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Receive the gospel of Christ, whose herald you have become. Believe what you read, teach what you believe, and practice what you teach.
I think God gives all of us gifts, different kinds of gifts. But we all have a warmth inside of us, and we have kindness in us. And those gifts are not to keep to ourselves. God gave them to us because we're supposed to share them.
Let me see, babe. Yeah, look right here in your own train. Oh, good.
I think nursing home ministry is sharing those gifts. It's letting the people know that they're not alone. Somebody else cares about them, that God cares deeply for them. Spending time with the nursing home ministry is very, very rewarding.
We are the fog on your glasses. We are the cup to go at breakfast. We are the answer to your deadline. We are closing the deal. But more than anything, we are never being out of coffee ever again. Never. We are River Road Coffees, and we're ready to prove that our coffee is better than whatever coffee you're drinking at the office. Call us today for a side-by-side taste test so you can get powered by River Road Coffees.
Welcome back to Catholic Life, ordinary people with extraordinary faith. And one of those people is Deacon Ed Hanks, who's with us. He's one of the newest deacons in the diocese, and it's been a real exciting conversation we've been having. And if you missed the first part, rewind and go back to it, because it was really, really good. So listen, I'm guessing only, since we haven't talked about it, that if you started RSI and then you went in a new program, something happened.
Yes.
So tell us about it.
Yes, sure. So good, fair question. So, so first of all, Father Jamin has done just a tremendous job revamping or reforming the deacon formation process, and it's all the intellectual formation now is through Franciscan University here in Baton Rouge. And so when I came, well, first of all, I'll start the old process. The old process for deacon formation was that you would complete 3 years of Religious Studies Institute, which was at the Catholic Life Center, the classrooms at the Catholic Life Center. And those classes were by people in the diocese, educators in the diocese, priest and catechist, and it was through St. Ben's. And so I went through 3 years of formation through the RSI process, and then I started the deacon formation. And in that first fall of deacon formation, I had a bunch of young kids, and we just discerned together that it was probably best for me to take a break from the process and figure this out.
Wow, that has got to be just a tremendously affirming thing when you discern out and then come back.
Yeah, I look at it as a blessing now. My 3 years of RSI were a gift. I learned so much. And then so a couple years later after that, I came back to Father Jamin and I said, look, I still feel this call. And he said, okay, well, let's get started. He said, but you're going to go through the whole new 5-year process. And I said, okay. And so that's how I started again. And so I think from the time that I was originally called by Father Ramon, I think we're right at 10 years. And it's been a real journey. And I am thankful. I thank the diocese, I thank Father Jamin, I thank everybody that has formed me because it's changed me in really good ways.
So that's a very important point, and I've had this conversation with some others because even though we now have a fairly rigorous education component to the diaconate, it's really not just education, it's formation. And we have to change inside because this ordination takes a different charism than just lay ministry. And that takes formation. And so you really, or focusing on that kind of without even saying it, I think.
Yeah. What was really emphasized to us in deacon formation are really the 4 legs of it. There's our human formation, our intellectual formation, our spiritual formation, and our pastoral formation. And all those have to be nurtured together at the same time. And so that's what that process is over the 5 years, is bringing that to a conclusion that God willing leads to ordination.
So tell us a little bit about the classwork, just so people can kind of become familiar with it a little bit.
Yep. So it's 5 years of classwork at a university, real classes with real other students, and so it works out to be 2-3 credit hour classes per semester, and just I would just think about it as if you've taken a 3-hour serious college class, that's what it amounts to. So 2 of those.
2 of those, and it's all in the Department of Theology at FRANU. So what kind of classes did you take?
Oh, sure. So In the early semesters, it was very much theological, Old Testament and the New Testament, and spirituality and intro to theology and Christology and the Trinity and church history. And then as we start to move through those classes, then we start to move on to more of the classes that are orientated towards being a deacon, pastoral care class, and I forget the name of the class, but just operating a church.
Right.
And then we took two canon law classes. The first one kind of a general canon law class, and then we took a canon law class particularly on marriage.
That's awesome. Very good casework, classwork. So as you are getting closer and closer to actually ordination, this is really going to happen. Tell me about your kind of emotional and spiritual state as you started getting a little close. I know there's a lot of interviews along the way too.
Sure. So starting at the ordination and perhaps working backwards, maybe is a way to do it, is Father Tom Ranzini does such a great job with liturgy. And the speed of the liturgy at the ordination was just perfect, that it was peaceful. I could keep up what was going on, and I could feel God's grace happening during the ordination. This was just powerful liturgical experience. The bishop laying his hands on me, you feel the change. It's real. Now, backing up from that, I was blessed. Schedules are so busy and hectic, and so I ended up not doing my retreat, my ordination retreat, until just 3 weeks before ordination.
Wow.
And that was a blessing too. I did mine at Our Lady of Hope, which is I guess the right word for it would be ran or operated by Father Mark Beard up in Amite. Our Lady of Hope is just a little bit across the border into Mississippi. I encourage people to find out about Our Lady of Hope. It's a beautiful, beautiful retreat center. So I was at Our Lady of Hope, tremendously peaceful place. I was there for the week pretty much by myself. And that's when all the rhythm of the busyness of life started to come to an end. I had that beautiful, just quiet week at Our Lady of Hope. And then I was able to carry that peace forward all the way to the ordination. And there was something in my heart that said, don't worry about any of these things. Just let all of these things go. And I was able to almost operate in a retreat-like mode all the way to ordination.
That's just tremendous.
Oh,
that's such a blessing.
Yes, a true gift.
And so when I was getting close to the end, they started asking me about the grace. And I wasn't even there yet. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm sure you were grace-filled through those weeks and then during the liturgy.
Yes.
And how did that manifest itself spiritually for you?
So spiritually, in the weeks coming up to it, I think before the week retreat, there was tension in the house. Things were getting ready to change in serious and significant ways. But after the retreat and during the retreat, I believe that the whole Hanks house had a greater sense of peace and joy leading up to the ordination.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just this morning I was doing the communion service, and I said, for the penitentiary, I only say, let's open our hearts and minds to let our Lord fill us with peace and relieve us of the worry. And that's exactly what you're saying. That comes. So you get ordained. Tell us about right after, how you felt.
I'll use the word again: peace, joy, a sense of being, just a sense of good, or a sense of like this is the right thing. I just really had a powerful sense of that.
That is fantastic.
Went home that afternoon, and then Father threw me to the wolves, and I preached the masses that first weekend. And even then, I really had a sense of peace about me, even preaching for that first time, and that was just wonderful.
I can feel the joy. And so you're assigned to St. Joseph.
St. Joseph in Ponchatoula.
Tell us about your assignment a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I'm the
Deacon Associate.
Deacon Associate. There's the term, Deacon Associate, St. Joseph of Ponchatoula. And then as deacons, the word deacon means service. The root of the word comes from the word service. And so one of the really good things that the deacon program is calling all deacons to now is to really recognize the charity that we're going to be involved in. How are we going to reach out and serve people in our community? And so the charity that I was assigned was to be volunteer chaplain at North Oaks Hospital.
Oh, good for you.
In Hammond. And so I'm the new rookie now volunteer chaplain at North Oaks.
That is fantastic. And so if you had to make a sales pitch for anybody that's been thinking about it, what would that sales pitch sound like?
Yeah, so I think the sales pitch would be is that listen, just really listen, and if you sense God is calling you, be receptive to that, and just start because whether you become a deacon or you don't become a deacon, your heart is going to change and your faith is going to change. Your knowledge about our faith is going to change, and you're going to be better because of that. And it's going to bring joy to your life. It's going to bring joy to your family, and it's going to bring blessings to your parish and to your community.
That is awesome. Well, let me just take just the last few seconds to thank your wife for supporting you through this, to thank your family for being supportive through all of this, and to them hearing the call and heeding the call, which is always really, really important, that the family is part of the whole process. And let me thank you for giving your life to the diocese, to God, but through the diocese and the work of the Diaconate community. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching today. We've been talking about the Diaconate program to our fourth and final interview of the new deacons, and we hope that you've enjoyed it. We've enjoyed bringing it to you. Till next time, God bless everyone.